What's good, everybody? Welcome back to a Killstreaks and Kickoffs episode number 8 with myself, Sam, Ruby, LOL Rubix. I'll be joined later by some returning guests, Nick and Owen. We'll be hopping on later for the podcast here with us. But yeah, today we got an exciting episode. Obviously, your Ohio State Buckeyes are the national champions, and I am very happy about that. So we will be touching on that, of course. We had some good news in the NFL, or good games that we were able to watch in the NFL scene. And of course, we'll be kicking it off with some CDL check-ins. Had some more matches back this weekend for online qualifiers for Major 1, and talking about what we're going to see next week for the last week of online qualifiers. So we will be getting to all of that here in this episode. Of course, feel free to follow the podcast on Spotify. Look up Killstreaks and Kickoffs Podcast on Spotify, and you should be able to find us, or in the it will be linked in the description below for you to click on alongside all of the socials if you want to support me in any way. I really appreciate it. But let's get right into this. Roll that intro. All right, everybody, so let's get right into this here. We've got Week 3 qualifiers, and let me switch over to the full cam here. We've got the Week 3 qualifier results here that happened this past weekend, and that was very exciting. I think there were a lot of good matches that we've kind of been a common theme here with even this online play. So we had a lot of great matches, couple upsets, and it was really fun to watch as a fan of Call of Duty and the Call of Duty League, man. So really cool. We got it kicked off here with LA Gorillas beating C9 New York. This was a bit of a shocker here because we hadn't seen LAG win a series yet so far on the year, and so they come in and absolutely dog walk Cloud9, beat them 3-0 here in this one. Actually relatively close maps, 250 to 190 on the hard point, 6-4 S&D, 3-2 control, overtime win there. But they get it done in all three of those maps, and they come out with the win here on this. I really didn't expect that. I kind of thought of this C19 a little bit better than what their record suggested, but kind of showing here that maybe that record was accurate. And as it sits now, they're 1-5, now tied with the LAG in terms of record. Obviously, LAG is going to have that head-to-head over them if they were to be tied at the end of next week. But yeah, man, I mean, LAG comes out and gets it done here against them. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it may go down to total maps won. So I don't know how exactly that shakes out here, but obviously, Cloud9 dropping 3 maps in a row without winning one against LAG, not going to help with that case either. So really tough one here for C9. We'll talk about their other loss this week later, of course, but yeah, I think they really need to kind of evaluate here. I don't know personally who the change needs to be, man. I mean, Attach was one that people were kind of throwing out, but he showed out in this series specifically. So I don't know what they need to do, but something needs to be changed. It's not the skill of these players, man. These are all shooters, but something's not right with that teamwork, and I think something kind of needs to be done here with that team to get them to where they need to be. So I don't know, man, but they're gonna go down in this one. Unfortunately for C9, and they're gonna fall to LAG. Congrats LAG, they got their one. They saw one go through the hoop here, so maybe things are looking up here for LAG. I don't know. They're probably still gonna be in losers bracket, so it's gonna be rough to make a run, but getting one under their belt here is pretty crucial. Talking about getting one under your belt here, that is something that the Vegas Falcons were not able to do this week against OPTIC, as OPTIC's going to win this one 3-1, or 3-1 here to move on to. They moved on to 4-1 this one in this matchup here against the Vegas Falcons. And yeah, I mean, not shocked here. OPTIC just kind of team diffed them in this one, man. Xnid, still looking solid. Only one to go positive there with a 1.0. Hook is just balling right now, man. 1.58 in this series here. They just looked good, man. OPTIC, there's not a whole lot to say there. We'll say, man, Vegas Falcons Search and Destroy has looked pretty good. That has been their one bright spot in general for this. I mean, if we look at the map too here, they got it done against OPTIC 6-4 here in this one, and yeah, all of them positive, and the only one on OPTIC to go positive was Kenny there. The rest of them kind of struggled to get anything going here in that map. But Vegas Falcons, they got the S&Ds. They just got to get their respawns under control, man, so they can kind of start winning some of these series. And we'll see, man. I think it is a kind of a time thing here with these Vegas Falcons. So yeah, I don't know, but OPTIC's going to get that one done. And then we have our first map 5 of the week here with Toronto beating Minnesota Rocker here. I was right in the fact when I predicted. I said Minnesota Rocker would not go down 0-2 against Toronto this time, but I did have them winning the series, which they did not do. Toronto's going to come out on top here 3-2 in the map 5. They just kind of trade blows map-wise here in this series. Toronto takes 1, 3, 5. Rocker takes 2 and 4. And obviously that's going to result in a Toronto Ultra win here to keep the undefeated streak going. Yeah, I mean, only thing I had written down here was Estriol good, Paulex bad right now. And so, yeah, I mean, Estriol's been a bright spot for this Rocker team in getting them these wins here that they've been able to pull out in the tournament. And yeah, Estriol's been a bright spot here. Paulex kind of needs to figure it out, man. I know Shotzi was talking about, I think on the Game Chat podcast that dropped today, is what he's thinking is like Paulex is kind of being too good of a teammate, and that's kind of compromising his ability to play as well, and compromising his numbers at least, for sure. So they got to get something figured out there with Paulex. Hasn't been looking great. And then last thing here, this Kleenex and Joe Thieves duo is just looking amazing, man. They look really good here for the Toronto Ultra. So you love what you're seeing here from Kleenex and Joe Thieves on the subs. Looking here at this Toronto Ultra roster. But that's day 1 here in this one, and then we'll jump over to day 2 here. We've got Vancouver Surge kicking it off here, getting their second win against the Vegas Falcons here. In this one, they'll take this one 3-1. Again here, S&D, only thing Vegas Falcons is doing, they're winning those S&Ds, but if you can't do anything else, you can't do anything else, and it's not going to win you series, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, they're just getting slammed everywhere else, Did have another positive series from Exnid and Wixel. I think that's how people have been saying his name, Wixel. He actually has a good one here. I think may have been a bit of kill whoring, to be honest, but at least you're able to, he's putting out damage and at least producing in some way or another, and that's where it kind of starts for this Vegas Falcons team, man. You got to see something for that, but Exnid here. Really just maintaining that consistency here in what we've seen from this team. And then, yeah, Abuza, as you can see here, the MVP of the series, man, drops a 1.24 here on the series. Yeah, Abuza looked great. This is the type of Abuza that we see and why he is in the league after, I think it was probably after the MW2 season, I think, is when we saw him kind of frying in challengers in the European scene and thinking that he may be the next great AR. We haven't seen a whole lot of that last year and this year so far, but this is what the potential that we see in Abuza, for sure. So, yeah, great series for him and the Vancouver Surges. They're going to get their second win of the season here over the Vegas Falcons. Moving on to the next match. Here, another upset, man. This is somehow, in my mind, worse than the C9 loss. If you're Cloud9, man, this is not a good look for you to be, especially just in the fashion that they lost this, dropping 2 S&Ds. And I talked about it last week, to the Miami Heretics, the worst S&D team I've seen in a while, man. Dropping 2 S&Ds to them, just not a good look for this C9 team. They actually outslayed them, and that's probably a result of 2 of Miami's wins being an S&D. But C9 actually did outslay them. But I mean that kind of also shows, man, there's something with how this team is working that just needs a change, and I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is. But they're getting kills and winning these respawns for the most part. Got 2 respawn wins in this series, but just not able to consistently do that right now. And so, yeah, there's something going on there for sure. I don't know what that is, but hats off to Miami for finally clutching up 2 S&Ds in one series here against Cloud9. So Miami gonna win that one 3-2 in the map 5. And then another upset, man. This one's kind of a shocker too. Boston Breach gonna come out here with a win over the Carolina Royal Ravens. I wrote down. This may maybe have a little bit to do with like a post-Grand Finals loss hangover of sorts for Carolina. I don't know how true that is, but kind of what it looked like here in this series, man. But also, Boston just looked really, really good. I mean, that map 4 specifically from Purge was diabolical. I mean, holy shit. They've got some clips here that I'll just kind of let run through.
And while all that
let me
attention is
mute
on
this. And let's get HD quality here for you guys. They've got multiple clips here of just Purge frying in this series. I mean, he just looked insane. This was one of the most flow state series that I've seen from a player in a long time. I think he went 45 and 20 was the final stat line, a 2.25 KD. Just crazy work here from Purge, and he's typically not expected to do this. He hasn't been like a super huge slayer in his time here, in the CDL. So it was really just great to see that confidence-wise alone from Purge in this series, man. He just looked really good. Love to see that from this Boston Breach team. And so, like I said, there may be a little bit of a Carolina Royal Ravens hangover going here from that loss in Minor 1, but I think you really just got to give hats off here to the Boston Breach. They got it done in electric fashion here, and on the map 4 just made a statement, especially from Purge. So that was good to see for him, confidence-wise alone, if nothing else, man. But yeah, I'll let that clip is done playing. So we'll move on through that series, man. Boston Breach, they're gonna improve to 4-1 here. That was actually both of their teams' only match here in this week. So, but yeah, that'll close out day 2, and then moving on to day 3 here, we've got LAG, and they are going to be back in their fashion that we've kind of been used to them with here. Gonna fall here to the Toronto Ultra in 3-1 fashion. Toronto Ultra improves to 6-0 here with this, man. They're looking good. They are looking good. That's very impressive. I think despite grabbing a win here earlier in the year for this, or earlier in the weekend for this LAG team with that win over C9, this LAG team's got to do something. They're kind of in that same boat as C9, to be completely honest. All these guys are good players. Obviously, Lynn's relatively new, so we don't know his complete potential yet. But I mean, like I talked at the beginning of the year, this is pretty much a world championship roster minus Hydra, and shit. Maybe Hydra is the best player in the world to ever touch a team and completely carry this squad of players to a championship. I don't know, but they got to do something, man. They got to figure it out, whether that be working through it for these remaining games this stage, and figuring something out, or if there is a change in sights here. I wonder if maybe a Pred. I mean, I doubt Pred would go and play for them right now, to be completely honest with you. But I don't know. You got to be looking for something in some way or another here for this LAG team. I don't know what the answer is, but it's not going to cut it for these caliber of players. So similar to C9 in that sense, but they're gonna fall. And Toronto Ultra, man, improving to 6-0, like I said, is just crazy, man. Toronto is looking really good, a lot better than I think a lot of people would have initially thought. I think we thought this team was gonna be good. Don't get me wrong, but not 6-0, undefeated aside from the minor tournament, of course. But in online stages, man, they've looked really good. So yeah, congrats to Toronto for improving to 6-0 with that match. And then let's move on to probably the best series of the weekend here, which is kind of crazy because I feel like a lot of these series that we've initially thought were going to be good series ended up being, the least interesting or the least close of series. This one was the opposite of that, man. Goes down to map 5. OPTIC is going to come out with the win in this one, 3-2 against LA Thieves, who are believed to be, another very, very high caliber team in this right now. I mean, we'll just talk about the OPTIC comeback here. They were down 5-1 in this. I'll skip a little bit towards, actually, I'll kind of let this whole thing kind of play out while I'm talking about it, about my notes here. But they were down 5-1. They bring it back here to a 5-5 OPTIC on defense here. 5-5, map 5, round 11, and they get it done. I think they kind of had a little bit of juking around, weren't sure exactly where that bomb was going, but made some good reads related to that. Yeah, here we go. Thieves kind of begins to take it back. Dashy kind of blows that up. Here gets one. I think that was really crucial here with this one, to at least get one there. And then Damn it, did it skip the Shotzi part? I think it did. Yeah, it did. Okay, it was already 3-3. I did want to. The reason I was letting it play through here, and I'll pause to talk about that, was Shotzi had a grenade before this that he threw it straight up in the air. He gets killed, but then the grenade gets his trade when it lands down. So I thought that was huge at a crucial moment here to this series. But yeah, I'll skip back ahead here. Like I said, Dashy blows up this rat back here from the Thieves by at least picking up one here. Hydra does pick off Hook and brings it to a 1 versus 2 here for Kenny, last alive against who's alive. It was Hydra and Envoy. So the sub duo here for the LA Thieves, and Kenny almost gets really bad COD timing, gets one, realizes there's another, catches Envoy while slide canceling, and oh, what a play there for Kenny and OPTIC. That is a huge play that you don't see every day, man. 1v2s like that are huge momentum, and like I said, defining moments, man, at such a stakes, man. These player cams are hilarious. Scrap is just shocked with what he just witnessed. But that was pretty crazy, man. But Hook also did want to touch on, obviously, great clutch there from Kenny there at the end. Hook has just been frying here for OPTIC, man. Insane series. He drops a 1.39 on the series here. The sub duo for OPTIC, Hook and Shotzi both. I mean, Shotzi's sitting there with a 1.32 in this one. Hook is just a fucking demon right now, man. He is a demon in hardpoint, specifically just blowing kids out, man. That sounds really bad. Pause. Blowing out teams with his play right now and the numbers that he's producing. I had a little pause moment there, but we regain. But Hook, yeah, just getting it done here for this OPTIC team. He is a demon, like I said. Something to note, though, with this LA Thieves team, man, they kind of like to throw S&D leads in this game. I know they either almost did or completely did throw one against Cloud9 earlier on in the year, and I think they had one against FaZe, if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm kind of noticing that with a common theme, but I kind of called, this Thieves team, man, having a bit of a little online slump here, and obviously take that with a grain of salt, man. They're still 4-1 in online qualifiers, and their only other loss is that one to FaZe. So they've had 2 losses against very high caliber teams here. Don't get me wrong there, but yeah, I mean, I can see it and I understand why here. That would be be an issue for this Thieves team, going through a little bit of a slump, but I think they'll be fine. Once we get to land. So I'm not going to read into that too much, but that was an amazing series. Super great, super cool to see for sure. And then last series of the weekend here, we have FaZe versus Rocker here. This is just a rough draw for Rocker, man, to get kicked back right into it. They got to play Toronto, who's undefeated, and then FaZe right after, they played FaZe, but in the minor and placed top 4, have to run it back against FaZe the next weekend. So sucks for Rocker here, but I mean, FaZe is just looking really confident now after winning map 1. You got a green carpet from him here in this series, man. They look really good. They kind of just did their thing, and again, Estriel, like I said, he's good. He's a good spot for this Rocker team in maintaining what they're trying to do here, and this, I guess, this just gritty Rocker roster, man. And Estriel's been a really bright spot there so somebody you definitely want to keep around and build around if possible, if changes are made. Like I said, this was a really bad series for Paul X. I didn't even see that when I was initially looking at this, but a 0.58 from Paul X, man. That's not ideal by any means. So, but yeah, I mean, you are going up against FaZe, who is one of the best teams in the game right now, despite their record of 2-3. They still are objectively one of the best teams in the league right now, so I don't blame Rocker for falling to them here by any means. But FaZe looking really good, man. So yeah, that's all I've got here for the online stages here, reviewing these matches. I did want to get a little check-in here with my picks last week, and then we'll talk about what I've got for the upcoming week here. I am signed in, right? Yeah, okay. So I went on day 1. I went 1 for 3 here. It looks like in day 1. Like I said, man, I did not expect this Cloud9 win by any means, or this Cloud9 loss. I expected Cloud9 to get it done here. against LAG. Did not do that. Proved to be wrong there. Got OPTIC right, obviously. You know, I'm not picking Falcons until they win one. And then got this one wrong. This one was a bit of a toss-up, man. I'm not shocked with this. I thought, you know, it could have gone either way for this. So, you know, I picked map 5 fashion. Could have gone either way. Toronto comes out with it in reality. So, but yeah, rough day for there, and then kind of another rough day for my picks here on Saturday. I went 1 for 3 again on day 2. Did get Surge right, beating Falcons again. So, geez, my first couple days, I guess the only things I got right was picking Falcons to lose both of their matches. So, just really off in general. But I mean, can you blame me, man? Cloud9 falling to Miami here in Map 5 fashion. I predicted it to go there, but I didn't predict Miami to win 2 S&Ds. There's just no way to see that happening with what we've been seeing from them, man. And so. Yeah, going to be wrong here with that one. And then, again, Breach upsets Carolina. I thought Carolina was looking so good. They just placed runner-up at a minor tournament. So I didn't really expect them to fall here to the Breach. Again, I gave Breach credit and said they would take them to map 5, but I had ultimately Carolina Royal Ravens winning that one, and they did not do that. They got beat 3-1. So, yeah, that was a little bit shocking of myself. You know, it's kind of hard to predict a Purge 45-20 game, but yeah, got it wrong there. And then last day here, I do go 3 for 3, so a little bit of redemption here with my picks, almost down to the exact map. I had Rocker taking FaZe to 3-2. They don't do that. They only take them to 3-1. But aside from that, I got every other map count right. Had OPTIC winning against Thieves in a 3-2 fashion, and then had Toronto Ultra beating LAG 3-1. Like they did. So a good redeeming Sunday there to tie it all up with my picks. There, a little check-in, and then we'll look here, scroll down to week 4. Dude, it never saves it, man. It never actually saves it, I swear. I don't know. Maybe I didn't hit it, and I'm just like tweaking right now. But good thing, that's why I write these down in case it doesn't. So for this first one, man, I had Carolina for next week to kick off the last weekend of online play for Major 1. I've got Carolina get a bounce back here against Vancouver Surge 3-1 here. In this one, I've got Thieves here going. I could see. I think Miami Heretics is good enough to bring Thieves right now to a map 5, but I think Thieves are going to close this one out in a map 5 against Miami. I'm going to go Atlanta FaZe here, another map 5, just based off of how I saw Boston play last week against the Ravens here. I'm going to say they take them to map 5 too, but FaZe gets it done. Moving on to day 2, I think Rocker actually slam here, 3-0. They need this one, man. They finally got somebody that they are objectively better than, I think. So I think they get this win here against the Vancouver Surge in 3-0 fashion. Just kind of slam them, and it's like a breath of fresh air, relief. Like, thank God, you know. So I think they get it done 3-0. Like I said, man, this was going to be the battle of mid if C9 won against LAG, but LAG, man, they got the job done. And so I'm going to pick them here to get the win here. They're going to grab this one at 3-1 is what I wrote down. I think I agree with that for sure. And then to wrap up this day, Carolina, I think, wins this one 3-1. Maybe actually I'm going to adjust that. I'm going to go 3-2. I wrote down 3-1. I'm going to go 3-2 here. But yeah, I'm going to say Carolina wins this one. And then day 3, final day of the weekend, the final day of online matches here that we've got. I'm going to stick with the slump narrative here for the Thieves. Breach has been looking good. And I'm going to say Breach take this one against LA Thieves on that final day here. 3-2 fashion, Breach wins this one, if you ask me. So that's my prediction there. I think FaZe dog walks Cloud9 here. I don't think that's a surprise. I think Cloud9, like I said, have some stuff to work out. And then I'm going to go OPTIC here, spoiling the Toronto Ultra undefeated run here in the qualifiers. I think they spoil it. This probably could be or probably will be a battle for the #1 seed. You know, going to the major when these two teams play here. So, yeah, it'll be really interesting match to close out the day for sure. But I'm going to say OPTIC spoils this Toronto Ultra run a little bit here at the end and grabs the #1 seed if that's still attainable at the time. So yeah, man, we'll see what happens there with OPTIC versus Toronto and the rest of the matches there. I'm super excited for that. That's everything I wanted to hit. CDL wise, for sure. Definitely looking forward, like I said, looking forward to these last week of online qualifiers before we get to finally a LAN tournament. Haven't seen one since the summer, so that's always super exciting to look forward to. So I am definitely excited for that, and we'll see what happens this next week. We will be back next week, of course, with checking in on these matches and seeing where we're at going into the major for sure. But that's everything I wanted to talk with CDL. I'm gonna kick you guys over. I already filmed this segment that's following, but I'm gonna kick you guys over to the football segment where, like I said in the intro, we're gonna have Nick and Owen joining us here to talk college football. So yeah, I'm gonna switch you guys over right now. All right, so moving on to college football now. The whole football section here, we have this time a bit of mix with our guests here from previous episodes. We brought Owen back on for this episode from last week, and then your favorite Eagles fan, Nick, is back here again with us here today. So we're going to be jumping into things here. Just, we've got a lot to talk about NFL-wise, but did want to touch on college football. Obviously, I am very excited with the result of the national championship. Ohio State beats Notre Dame 34-23 in the national championship in Atlanta, Georgia, and holy shit, that was beautiful. Just amazing to see. One of the most amazing games that I remember watching in recent memory, but also one of the most memorable runs that we have seen in college football history. So it was just crazy to see this. Everybody was counting this team out, including myself. I'm sure, Nick, you asked me, like at the beginning of it, do I think that we could do it? I don't think you can blame anybody for saying that we didn't think that they could do it. And it wasn't that we thought that they weren't talented enough. I mean, because obviously we paid a lot of money for this team, had a lot of returning weapons. So the talent was always there. That was never the question. But what myself personally, and I think a lot of people thought about this team, was that they didn't have the discipline, or the coaching and game planning wasn't all there, just based off of what we saw in the regular season up to that Week 12 loss versus Michigan. So we didn't really have the confidence in the team to prepare for 4 probable top 10 matchups that you were going to end up having. And but they came in, proved all of us wrong. Obviously, we still wanted them to win as Ohio State fans, but might not have expected it, and they proved us wrong, and that was amazing to see. They showed that they were beyond capable of doing those things that we questioned that they would be able to do. And yeah, I mean, just to touch on like this game specifically, I thought it was super fantastic. I don't think I saw, like, if at all, any offensive mistakes or anything like that. Obviously, defense was pretty solid up until the end there. But offensively wise, like, I don't think I saw any mistakes, any stupid penalties like we saw against Texas. So I think they straightened up a lot of shit, and that was good. Like I said at the end there, it did get kind of conservative, and it got a little hairy with Notre Dame starting to mount a comeback, but they were able to clutch up when it mattered. I mean, that Jeremiah Smith 3rd and 11 catch was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like it was like slow motion watching that in real time. That was like a slow motion moment that you really only see few and far between in football and sports. And so yeah, I'm overall just really proud of it. Super happy. Like I don't know what else I could say or what I can put into words here, but I don't know your guys' thoughts on the game itself and this run so far.
Yeah, Ohio State gets it done. They end the drought, 10-year drought, and overall, yeah, just a good story. I mean, after the Michigan game, it's just heartbreak. There's no reason they should lose that team. Everyone's kind of down, don't really know where to go from there, and Ohio State has the toughest road to the championship of any team in the playoffs, and really, they basically won every game with ease. They win double digits in every single game. So just a great story for the Buckeyes. A lot of returning guys coming back for one last year. They get it done. And I can go into the game a little bit here. I thought Ohio State played really well overall. Obviously, Notre Dame gets the ball first, and they did what they needed to do. I think it was an 18-play drive.
Yeah.
They go all the way down the field, score a touchdown, about a 10-minute drive. And that's the start they needed. But Ohio State weathered the storm. very well. Will Howard is super sharp. I think he only had one incompletion in the first half. Um, and yeah, the big question going into this game, obviously Notre Dame, a big man-to-man team. How are they going to stack up against the Buckeyes with Jeremiah Smith? And Ohio State was able to dice them up. I like what they were doing in the first half. Will Howard is getting a book of the ball. Tate, Smith, everyone was getting involved. But credit to Notre Dame. They came out in the second half. I thought after the fake punt that they were dead in the water, down 24 points at one point, and they cut it all the way back to 8 with the chance to stop and get the ball back to potentially go and tie the game. But just 3rd and 11, they decide to go all out pressure, man to man, Jeremiah Smith, and he ends it on him. So pretty sick way to end the game. And yeah, the Buckeyes are national champions.
Yeah, so I'm gonna keep it sweet and short here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch the game. I was out of town, but first and foremost, I want to congratulate all the OSU Buckeye fans, especially Sam. I've known you a long time, and ever since I've known you, I guess they've never won since we've known each other. So, congratulations to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I just want to say that 3rd and 11 call is so gutsy. But like those are kind of calls that win you the game, and that's what exactly happened with OSU. And so yeah, I wanted to congratulate you and all of that. It's been about 10 years, and was it Cardell Jones that won you the last natty?
Yeah, it was 10
so
years
that
ago
was-
to this year. Yeah.
That's quite a while, yeah. But yeah, congratulations on that.
Yeah. Very, very happy about that there. Yeah.
How did you celebrate?
Let's just say, I did my due diligence, pouring one out into my mouth for Ohio State this year.
Right.
To celebrate, of course. I have to. It's been 10 years. I wasn't I wasn't over the legal age limit last time we won it, obviously. So, I had to celebrate.
Some Kool-Aid.
Eating gummy bears and drinking
Yeah.
Capri Suns.
Yep. Yeah, but yeah, no, that was great. That was a great game to watch and just a great impressive run. I did want to touch on like the legacy of this team specifically because I know there's a lot of conversation about related to like this is obviously the first 12-team playoff that we've seen, and so it's different that we've seen previous national champions in the past, and so you talk about great teams and what that criteria is, and I think in the past it's really been teams that go like 14-0, 15-0, depending on what era of the playoff format and the national championship format. Teams that do go like undefeated was kind of your benchmark, your only way that you could be considered like an elite team by doing that. However, what this playoff has kind of provided us with is situations like this. And I don't know with seeding if we'll ever see a matchup, a series of matchups like Ohio State faced again, if they adjust seeding and all that. But the 12-team playoff this year at least gave us that opportunity to see that. And so I think, it's weird to see because obviously this is the first. I don't know if this is the first time that we've seen a 2-loss team in the playoff. I would need to go back and look exactly on what teams have qualified in previous years and how that worked out. But this is the first time we've seen like a 2-loss team with a bad loss to Michigan like this late in the year be allowed in, because if you're losing late in the year like that in previous years, you're never going to be able to make the 4-team playoff at least. But so what this did is allowed a team like Ohio State, who kind of had some blunders during the regular season, to get in. But as I want to relate this back to like the actual legacy and strength of this team and how they stack up, I think there's a lot of people that kind of see those 2 losses and see that the final record was I think we were 14-2 was our final record. And so a lot of people are trying to compare, to like 15-0 teams and whatnot. And I think it's a completely different aspect because we've never, ever, like in the history of college football, I mean, Ohio State has the record for most wins against a top 5 AP opponent, ever. And they actually passed that 15-0 LSU team that previously held that record this year. So we have never ever seen like a strength of schedule as a result of the playoff format like we did here, as well as Ohio State's regular season schedule. They had solid wins, 2 solid wins in the regular season. But I mean, you got to look at it. This team, out of they played 16 games, so 6 of those games were against. I'm going to rattle this off at the time: number 3 Penn State, number 5 Indiana, number 9 Tennessee, number 1 Oregon, number 5 Texas, and number 7 Notre Dame. We have never seen that list of bodies in a roster before, and yeah, and it's like they're smacking a lot of these teams too, for lack of a better term. They're dog walking many of them, and so like this is just a diabolical track record that this team has that no college football team ever has done before. And so, like I said, things will be tweaked, and maybe we'll see a lot more of this happening, a lot more of the teams. But for right now, where we are, I personally believe this is the best resume a college football team has ever had, because looking at just purely the wins and the wins that they've stacked up and the people that they beat, and it's like the meme with like the Grim Reaper going into all the doors. Like that is, if you were to make one of those with all 6 of those top 10 opponents, that would be very impressive, and so I personally think I think this is the best team based off of that, and that's not to discredit like teams going 14-0, 15-0, and winning the Natty. That's still very impressive. But I think it's 2 different types of things, and me personally, I just value more these wins that Ohio State had. I don't know about your guys' thoughts on that, in terms of like what resume or going undefeated for that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. To me, it's just not comparable at all. Like college football, it's just completely different now. Like you said, 12-team playoff, NIL, transfer portal, everything. It's just a completely different era. It's a completely different game, to be honest. So I think going back and comparing Ohio State to this team who went 14-0, it's just not possible. Because there's so many factors that kind of weigh on how you look at things. But I definitely agree that Ohio State is up there. I mean, like you said, you mentioned the resume. I kind of stated earlier with their path to the playoffs. They dominate all these teams. They go, like you said, they played Oregon, they played Indiana, they played all these teams in the regular season. So I think Ohio State has a strong case. But yeah, like I said previously, it's kind of just hard to compare eras, especially with the way college football is right now.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it's hard to argue that this isn't the most impressive, especially with the new playoff format. I mean, Ohio, like Owen said, dominated all of these top 10 teams in the playoffs. And so, yeah, I mean, this is so impressive, especially, with the new format and all that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Literally, my next note is the shit is not comparable between eras. Like, college football is such a volatile structure and format of how each season goes, and it's just you can't compare. So I'm sick of kind of hearing a bunch of people try and do that and try and compare. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion on what they believe is the best team in their mind, and it's really just comes down to like what you value in a team's, whether that be resume or whether that be remaining perfect or whatever the hell. So yeah, I don't think it's comparable. I think both are great accomplishments, and just for right now, man, I'm just living this this absolute hell of a season that we saw here from Ohio State when it was all said and done. And then when talking about the season, the last thing that I did want to talk about, I gotta mention it. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. You gotta bring up the loss to Michigan here. Obviously, you do have a slight bitter taste because, at the end of the day, you beat Michigan in a year that you win the national title. And I know I talked to you about this, Nick, in the past, like what if I would still value the national title. And so in a perfect world, yes, you obviously want to win. You want to beat probably the biggest rivalry in sports, in my opinion. You want to win that rivalry and also win the national title. But it didn't happen, and who knows? Like if maybe they do beat Michigan this year, but it doesn't light that spark, that fire underneath them that propels them through the playoffs like it did. So who knows? Maybe they never get that wake up call and they just get complacent, lackadaisical, and end up going out in the first or second round of the playoffs. Who knows, you know? So it's like butterfly effect. What would have happened? What would have happened? What everything that happened, you know, did in the way that it did, and this is the result that we have here. And I mean, like, to address like Michigan fans, I see so many just tirelessly replying to any post related to this Natty win. Honestly, bro, it seems they are more mad about Ohio State winning this whole thing than Ohio State fans are mad about losing to them this year. They may actually be more mad about us winning than we are happy about winning, to be completely honest with you. So, I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, it is what it is, the Michigan loss. I can't blame Michigan for the endless coping and shit that I see on Twitter. So, I mean, I think anybody with a brain knows, you know, who got the last laugh being national champions, and it is a bitter taste. But you know, we'll wash that bitter taste out with champagne as national champions. So, but yeah, I don't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to touch on here with this national championship run. If you guys did want anything else to say before we move on.
Not really. I mean, it's just crazy, like the whole Michigan back and forth thing. It's just crazy, like how big of a rivalry it is that we're still having this conversation after Ohio State won the national championship. And if you're a Michigan fan, I get it. Like you said, cope, whatever. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you play sports to win championships. And Ohio State did that. As much as it sucks that they lost to Michigan, they're playing Michigan every single year for the rest of existence. So it's not the end of the world. They won the national championship, and that's the highest achievement you can win in college football and in sports in general. And Ohio State did that. So any Michigan fans or anyone in that matter discrediting Ohio State is just illusional.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, OSU is the one holding the trophy, while Michigan is the one holding a win in the regular season. So, to me, that just doesn't add up. I mean, they can cope all they want. I'm unbiased. I'm not an Ohio State fan, so, but cope however they want. I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't make the playoffs. They didn't win the Natty.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. I'm gonna, yeah, that sums up my thoughts on it as well. So, yeah, that is insane. I did also want to talk, not related to Ohio State anymore, just last thing related to college football. And I'll get ask your guys' thoughts on this after I give my piece. Just on the actual format itself. I know we mentioned it a little bit there. I thought this playoff experience was amazing. Obviously, you know, being a little biased because I'm a fan of the team that won the whole damn thing. But in general, just looking at like even the other matchups, I thought this whole playoff experience was something awesome. Being able to watch meaningful college football for basically an entire month straight is something we really haven't seen before in the sport, like we have in this 12-team playoff. So, I mean, I've kind of touched in previous weeks on, like, tweaks and recommendations I have for the formatting. So I'll kind of reiterate some of that. I think, personally, I don't think conference championships should guarantee a first-round bye. I think it should get you a guaranteed bid. You know, I think those teams, like we talked about in previous episodes, I think those teams still deserve a spot for winning their conference championships. But I think as we saw I mean, we saw every single conference champion lose in this playoff here. So it's like, looking at just that alone, I think we should probably maybe look at that and potentially adjust how that is. Maybe just make it a automatic bid instead of an automatic buy. And then, biggest thing with this, I think seeding should probably readjust at the end of each round. I don't think that there should be a set path like that you're set to. I think at the end, lowest seed should play the highest seed, so on and so forth, and readjust at the end with who's remaining at the end of each round. That's how I believe the NFL does it. And so, I think that would benefit this playoff structure. This is a little nitpicky, but another thing that I did want to talk about is the actual location of these bowls here. And I'm not even speaking for Ohio State. I'm speaking for really any Midwest team here, any Big Ten team that's not down south. All of these bowl games are either played out west or down south. And it's kind of stupid that basically if you're a Big Ten team or a Midwest team that somehow makes it outside of the Big Ten, you're never going to get a home game or a pseudo home game in this. I mean, if we look at these locations, it's Arizona, LA, New Orleans, Miami, Dallas, and Atlanta from round 2 on. And so I think that's kind of dumb. Obviously, like I said, it's kind of nitpicky because I mean a Midwest team just went and did that and went through all of those. So, I mean, it's still possible, but I think it is a little stupid for future years. So, I don't know. Maybe could throw some games. I get teams don't want to play in the snow because it's cold out here at this time of year. So, but I mean, bro, come to Detroit. Throw it in Detroit. Throw it in the Viking Stadium or something. Could do Minnesota, Indianapolis. They've got a dome. So I don't know, man. That just would be my suggestion with it. And then last off, I think the Kelsey brothers were kind of talking about just how long this actually went on. Like I said, as a selfish fan, getting to watch these games was great. It's great that it goes this long. But I think it probably would have been fine as an 8. That's what I always said we should go to when the 4-team playoff was happening, was increase it to 8. So I think personally 8 would probably be fine. I'm not complaining that we have 12, but just if we do make tweaks in the future, I could see an 18 playoff working just the same. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but it's fine either way. So a little nitpicky there with the last 2, but those are my overall thoughts on it. I love the playoff. What were your guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I can go here. I'll try to address what you said as I go. But yeah, your first point, I completely agree. I think if you win your conference championship, you should get an automatic bid in. However, getting a first round bye, I think, is a joke. You got teams like Boise State and Arizona State getting a bye over teams like Texas, Ohio State, Penn State for that matter. So I think what I would do is you go down 1 through 12 as the college football, as the rankings they do. And then with that, the top 4 teams, the top 4 seeds get a bye, and then you seed everyone else 5, 12, whatever down the line. You kind of talked about reseeding. I think there should be no reseeding. I think once the bracket's set, you got your teams 1, 2, 3, 4, top teams in the country, they get their bye. Teams 5 through 12, 7, 11, they play, or 7, 10, sorry, they play, and then it's just bracket format from there.
And I'll interject. I will say I agree with that sentiment if they do the first point. You know what I mean? Like, because that kind of fixes that whole problem. So like if you do,
I'm gonna assume they will change that too.
Yeah,
probably in the next couple of years.
Yeah,
because we're not the only ones saying this, and I think it just doesn't really make sense to have Boise State over a team like Texas when there's obvious skill gaps in the conferences that they play in. And then as far as like the stadiums they play in, to me it's not that big of a deal. I think a lot of the reason they play in the stadiums they do is money at the end of the day. These stadiums, they're used to hosting big time events, and they have the facilities to hold football games that are going to bring in tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people. So at the end of the game, it just kind of is what it is. It's about money, nothing you can really do about that. Yeah, but like I said, hopefully going forward within the next 5 years, they do switch the format. But I do like the 12-team format. Anyone complaining about having more football is crazy. The more football, the better. So, yeah, I love the format. I think they just got to tweak the seating, and it's good to go.
Yeah, so I don't know much about college football, as you know, but I thought the 12-team playoff was perfect, in my opinion. The only thing that I had issue with, like you mentioned, Sam, was the set like seeding, where they already had it set to where like Ohio State would play Oregon after they beat Tennessee. I was confused on why that was, because I thought it was like the NFL seeding, kind of like lowest seed plays the highest seed next round, vice versa. And so yeah, that's the only thing I would change personally, because I don't really understand the set seeding. But if you could explain more to that to me, like just to understand it.
Well, the thing is that it's like it's influenced and swayed by the whole like bye system based off of conference champions. So like kind of to what Owen was saying, like if we were being realistic here, like Arizona State, Boise State, they probably would have been like in that like 9 through 12 seeding range realistically out of the 12 teams, which would have bumped up teams like Ohio State, Notre Dame, even Penn State to like those potential 4 spots. And so that would have fixed a lot of the problems here that we saw with teams like Tennessee and Ohio State. Very solid teams that should probably be at the top of their like seeding sides. But realistically, I mean, Tennessee was screwed because they were 9. Ohio State was screwed being the 8 here because they got bumped out of teams that were probably better than them. And again, to reiterate, I do think Boise State and Arizona State deserved a shot. It's just about the manner of that shot that they get, and they should have probably been in there, like around in those higher seeds versus what they were given. So, and like we've said, me and Owen said, they'll probably adjust stuff like that in the coming years, and I think that'll kind of fix this problem for the most part, because you won't have teams like Ohio State, who are still very high caliber, have draws where they have to play Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think they'll handle it. But if that's all, you guys are good with college football. That's all I really wanted to touch on here for this national championship and playoff run. Again, go Bucks! That was beautiful, amazing to see as an Ohio State fan. Yeah, just truly in awe and shocked with this, but in a good way. So, yeah, but let's move on here to the NFL and hop into take a look at a different bracket that we have going on right now, the NFL playoffs here, and I'll zoom in a little bit, maybe look at a little better. Yeah, that's better. But yeah, let's just hop into these games here. I'll give my piece, and like I said, I'm kind of the same way as Nick, where you guys are more informed about the NFL than I am. I think I said that on the last podcast, but so I'll kind of give a shorter piece with all these games than I did related to college football, and kind of let you guys give your thoughts as well on this. But we'll start with the Chiefs versus Texans game. The Chiefs beat the Texans 23-14 here. It was crazy. I wrote this down that Texans became the first team in I don't know if it was postseason history or like all-time history here. That the team that outgained them by 100 yards and threw no turnovers lost the game. I don't know if you guys know, but I saw that statistic and I was like, holy shit.
49-0, I think.
Yeah, it was like 49-0 and then now 49-1. So, like something's not. That alone doesn't mean something's going on, but it's like something's not happening right with the way that the Texans even are playing in this game. If they're outgaining them by that much, but did want to give my piece on it. I watched the game personally. I thought the ref shit is just like was at its fully out in this game. Nick, I know you're a big conspiracist with the Chiefs here. I thought this was on display pretty significantly here in this game. So, I mean, we knew this was going to happen for the most part. I mean, there are people that believe in that conspiracy, a lot of people that share that same sentiment. And so, I don't know. It's not really about, like, the amount of penalties, because if you look at, like, statistically, maybe there's not, the Chiefs aren't getting more, but it's more so about the timing of these. It's just so convenient all the time, and we keep seeing this happen over and over and over again, and it's like, man, do Chiefs fans even want to win like this, every time? Because, shit, the Chiefs probably still are a better team than the Texans are. But it's like tainting the legitimacy of their wins. So, I mean, I don't get it, personally. I don't know what is going on. If the Chiefs are that big of a money thing for the NFL, I don't fucking know. But I don't know, man. It's just a little weird, and I think we saw it on display this game. But like I said, Chiefs, probably were the better team, and even if Texans get some of those calls to go their way, maybe they still don't win. But it just sucks, watching this in high stakes games like this. But I'll let you guys take it from there.
Yeah, this game kind of went how I expected it to go. I think last week I said score prediction 23-10. I wasn't too far off. And I also said the big thing going in this game is the Texans O-lines have issues the whole year, and the Chiefs D-line is a really good defensive front. And the Chiefs went out there and had 8 sacks. And if you're the Texans, you're just not able to sustain drives if you're constantly going backwards. And that's just kind of what happened. It's just too much to overcome. Kame Fairbairn missed an extra point. He missed a field goal. That's 4 points. against the Chiefs on the road. That's just, you can't do that. And then, like you said, with the penalties, it's getting to a point where it's like you know what's coming. Everyone knows what's coming. The flag, the unnecessary roughness on Will Anderson in the first half was a complete joke. In the second half, they get called for another unnecessary roughness when the guys go over Mahomes. They don't even touch him. And then Mahomes, another one, he's scrambling out to his left and like slows down and like flops out of bounds. Like, dude, this isn't fucking soccer. Why the fuck are you flopping? Like, trying to get calls. Like, that pissed me off more than anything. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs basically just controlled the whole game. The Texans did cut it to one, but I mean, the Chiefs did what they had to do. They did just enough on offense, and then kind of like the whole year, their defense has been the backbone of their team. They held the Texans out of the end zone for the most part, and yeah, they survived in advance.
Yeah, so I mean the penalties were like on 10 in this game. I am a Chiefs conspiracist. Some might believe that I'm majoring in that, but I want to piggyback on some of those penalties that Owen just mentioned. That unnecessary roughness on Will Anderson was so absurd. It was like maybe half a second after Patrick Mahomes let the ball out of his hands, and it wasn't even a hard hit. It was just a regular hit, and they called that. It's like it's so infuriating because these aren't just penalties; these are game-changing penalties.
Yep.
So it's just absurd. Also, the flop where Mahomes was running out of bounds and he slows down, and then he tries to get a foul while trying to go out of bounds. There, it's
Unreal.
and Troy Aikman even called him out on the BS on broadcast. So the commentators even know what's going on. Besides maybe Colin, yeah,
Patrick Mahomes.
yeah, and yeah, also that unnecessary roughness where the Texans players didn't even touch him when he was slowing down. He already established himself as a runner.
That was the worst one, in my opinion.
It was. It's because as a defender, you can't do anything.
Right.
Like the quarterback has such an advantage that they can do stuff like that. It's infuriating. But I have a stat line here that I wanted to give you guys. The penalty numbers from last 11 Chiefs playoff games. The Chiefs have had only 36 penalties for 319 yards, whilst their opponents have had 66 penalties for 541 yards. So there's quite a disparity between those numbers there. It's so absurd and crazy. But as a Chiefs conspiracist, I've always been on that, and I already knew the outcome of the game. Other than that, for the Texans, I thought Stroud has played actually quite well these two playoff games. I mean, he's been having kind of a down sophomore season, but this is kind of like a good way to end his year. And also, like Owen said, Kyami Fairbairn sold, kind of left some points off the board, so you can't be doing that, especially against the Chiefs here. But yeah, I expected the Chiefs to win here, and it's a shame that games are becoming like this.
Yeah. You guys hit it on the head, hit the nail on the head there, with pretty much everything that I think a lot of people are thinking about this game. But it is what it is, and Patrick Mahomes is in the AFC Championship again. So I mean, who's really shocked here? But yeah, let's move on to the next game. The Bills versus the Ravens, and man, I guess I was wrong about playoff Lamar being legit this year. Maybe had a little bit of the Steelers effect there. May have thought that the Steelers were a little bit better than they actually were, and so that kind of maybe inflated Lamar's play a little bit. No disrespect to the Steelers, but yeah, I think that may have played a little bit to do with it. I will say Lamar did drive down late and give them a chance to tie it up here, and it ultimately came down to the Mark Andrews drop there on the 2-point conversion. But I mean, still in this game, man, Lamar had a really bad interception and had a fumble. So turning the ball over twice as the captain of that offense, not ideal from what you want to see in a playoff setting here. And so yeah, I mean, you're just never gonna win a playoff game like this, turning the ball over three times here. So I do feel for Ravens fans here. It sucks to go out like that, and you know I can understand it personally being an Ohio State fan when you almost have it and then you all of a sudden don't. Like comparing to the 2022 field goal miss against Georgia, it's something very similar where it's like it's right there, you have it, you have a chance to tie it up or you have a chance to win the game, and then all of a sudden somebody makes a mistake and you don't all of a sudden again. So it sucks to go out like that for sure. I do wonder kind of what's next for the Ravens, and I don't know if you guys can give your thoughts on that too when you go. But, you know, it seems like this is the story every year for them. They just can't seem to get over the hurdles in the playoffs, especially like this. And it's becoming kind of a common theme here with this Ravens team that we've been seeing under Lamar's helm. Not to blame it on Lamar, just saying during the Lamar era. And so it's been a common theme. Yeah, I don't know, man. What's next for them? But sucks for them. But congrats to the Bills, man. They managed this game. You know, well, Josh Allen didn't have to be too crazy. I know he got it done on his feet a lot. You know, I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns, but didn't have to be too crazy. But the Bills just did a good job of managing this game, and coming out with a W here. But yeah, I mean, you guys can give your thoughts.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on this game. And first, I just want to say if you're watching this and you're a Ravens fan, specifically Anthony, if you're watching this, I am very, very sorry that this happened to you because the Baltimore Ravens win this game 8, maybe 9 times out of 10. And they just lost it themselves. Self-inflicted wounds. You're just sick. I mean, and you mentioned Lamar, and I'll get to that in a second. Actually, I'll get to it right now as I'm thinking about it. Lamar Jackson, I thought Lamar played well, and the turnovers were it's just 2 plays out of the game just changed the game, and that's what it is in playoffs. Lamar Jackson throws the pick, which that was just kind of weird to me. I don't know what he was thinking, what he was doing. I kind of want to see that play in like an all 22
Yeah, I was
replay.
wondering
I could.
what
It's
that
just kind of
was.
a weird play, overthrows him. I don't know what he was thinking there. That play was bad. Obviously, his fumble super costly. That's like a 10-point swing there. But Lamar Jackson gave his team a shot, especially at the end. They drive all the way down the field. And let me name off the receivers that Lamar Jackson was thrown to: Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, Anthony Miller, Steven Sims, and Nelson Aguilar. So Lamar Jackson is throwing to trash cans, and he still goes out on the road and gives his team to win, or a chance to win, I should say. Um, and give credit to the Bills because, I mean, their game plan was simple in this game. They want to limit the possessions that the Ravens get and hold on to the football, and that's what they did. They ran the ball a shit ton. Josh Allen only 127 passing yards. They wanted to control the clock in this game, and they did that. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think the Baltimore Ravens punted once. It was just they either score or they turned it over. And man, at the end of the game, like I said, have a chance to tie it up, and Andrews drops it, kind of icing on the cake there. Just a frustrating game if you're the Ravens fan. If you're a Ravens fan, and I don't think they're in any trouble at all. I mean, they still have Lamar Jackson. They got Derrick Henry. Their defense is solid, so they'll still be competitive and jugular in the AFC for at least the next couple of years. But man, they got to draft some receivers because you can't be counting on Anthony Miller and Steven Sims and Tylan Wallace in the playoffs. It's just a joke. Obviously, Zay Flowers is out in this game. That was big. But yeah, Nick, if you want to give your thoughts here, I kind of just went on a little rant there.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Ravens just simply outperformed the Bills in this game. The only key difference were those turnovers, which were the 2 Lamar turnovers and that one Mark Andrews fumble. And like Owen said, you know, playoff games are just so much more different than regular season games because you're playing against the best of the best. So, in my opinion, the key to winning most of these games is protecting the ball and playing turnover-free ball. But yeah, the Ravens beat themselves. I don't really think the Bills beat the Ravens here. But like you asked, Sam, I think the Ravens will be fine. Lamar's a game-changing quarterback. He's probably top 3 quarterback in the league. And I personally believe that he will make it to the Super Bowl someday. It's unfortunate it's not this year, but I think they'll be just fine. in terms of the Bills, I mean, Josh Allen did not have any eye-popping stats in this game, as you said, 127 passing yards. I mean, but he simply just did enough for his team to get the win by not turning the ball over. So that's how you're going to get it done in the playoffs here.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
agreed.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what's next for the Ravens. I agree. They're still gonna have their guys and they'll be fine. You know, it's just kind of almost like a mental hurdle they got to get over here, man, and get to the Super Bowl. But I think Lamar is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback myself personally, as well. So
Yeah,
we'll see,
for
man.
sure.
What happens there? But yeah, that's the AFC here, and let's go back to the bracket. Move on to the Commanders versus the Lions here, and man, this was shocking to me at least. I know Owen, you were kind of on the Commanders at least being in a close game with the Lions here
Mm-hmm.
in this situation. But maybe shocked us all the fact that they're actually going to win and win by 2 scores against the Lions
Mm-hmm.
right now. I apologize to Jaden Daniels. I was not familiar with your game in this caliber of a game. But yeah, I just didn't really think that the offense was going to be able to produce as much as they did, and they did that indeed. But one thing I did write down as well, that this Lions injured defense did play a huge factor. I mean, you could see that they were missing some guys that they may have previously had in the year, and so that sucks, you know, for the Lions for sure. But I mean, all credit to the Commanders, man. They capitalized on it and got it done. Another thing that I wrote down here, just playoff turnovers will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Production-wise, both of them are pretty similar. I mean, Detroit outgained them by a little bit, but pretty similar offensively here. But I mean, just 5 turnovers to 0. You're never gonna win a playoff game like that. And so that proved true for the Lions here in this one, man. And so yeah, I mean the Commanders are gonna move on here with a little bit of momentum. I think it also came down a lot to Lions were, you know, the obvious favorite here and playing with a lot to lose, and the Commanders weren't, and they came in and played like that and got the job done. So Commanders are moving on, and kind of similar to the Ravens, I do wonder what's next here for the Lions, because this is kind of their second year in a row of being a really good a program and team that they have together here. And so. Yeah, I mean, not getting it done here, and I think that is probably the hungriest fan base that there is here in the NFL right now, just because of how good the Lions are. Maybe similar to you guys, like Bengals fans right now. Obviously didn't make it this year, but 2 teams, you know, who have been really good in recent history, but just not able to get it done. Lions haven't even been able to make a Super Bowl with what they've been doing, but it is still early on for them, so. Do wonder what's next, and you know, that fan base is definitely hungry. I won't lie, you know, I'm rooting for the Lions organization as a whole, but knowing that Michigan fans watched their Detroit Lions lose in the playoffs and then watched their rival win the national title 2 days later, that did give me a little bit of comfort. But yeah, the Commanders here get it done. I'll pass it on to you guys now.
Yeah. First thing I want to say is just Jaden Daniels is just so impressive, man. Like doing this as a rookie is just crazy. It's honestly insane. It's never been done before. And it's hard to believe that it's ever going to be done again in the next 50 years. I mean, the guy's putting up insane stats. He's playing insane football, turnover-free football. Yeah, I think he nearly had 300 yards in this game. Throws for 2 touchdowns. That ball to De'Ami Brown was an absolute dot. Just drops it right in the bucket. The kid is special, man. The Lions, I mean, we all knew going into this game their defense was injured, but man, got to give credit to Jane Daniels and the Commanders' offense as a whole. They shredded them, and then the big thing, like you said, 5 turnovers. It's just impossible to win. Impossible. You can't turn the ball over 5 times in the playoffs and expect to win. Teams are just too good. And to me, not the game-changing play, but just a play that just kills you as a Lions fan. I think you're down 10, need at least a field goal, and you run a trick play. You have your wide receiver throw it downfield. Jameson Williams throws a pick, and the Commanders go down and score a touchdown to basically seal it. So to me, that was just a stupid decision by the Lions. I don't know why they're running trick plays down 10. But as far as the Lions' future, I mean, as we just saw, Ben Johnson gets hired by the Bears, their offensive coordinator, their defensive coordinator, and Aaron Glenn just gets hired to the Jets. So the Lions are basically restarted as far as their offensive defensive coaches, and I mean that plays a factor. The Lions had a lot of success this year. Their defense, I would say, overachieved with the amount of players that they had injured. Their offense was, I mean, I think they put up 33, 34 points a game. So I mean that's two massive spots to fill, but again, I think the Lions will be fine. I mean they got a really talented roster. They're going to get a lot of guys back from injury. I think Jared Goff is playing top 12 quarterback football. And Dan Campbell's proven himself as a solid head coach in this league. So I think the Lions will be fine. But man, it's just so frustrating as a fan. Like you have all the pieces, or you think you do, and you're in a spot to make a Super Bowl run and potentially win one, and your season comes up short. It's just sickening. So for all you Lions fans out there, I understand what you're going through.
Yeah, I think this was probably the best game of the weekend. I mean, this is one of the craziest playoff upsets in my recent memory. Going to Jaden Daniels, I loved him coming out of college. I mean, I drafted him in our Dynasty League, Sam. And so I always believed he was going to be a superstar. And I already think that he's in that upper echelon of quarterbacks right now. I mean, what he's doing hasn't been done. And he's just playing like one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, the Lions defense got shredded. I mean, they had a bunch of injuries going into this, but I think this loss is on Goff, in my opinion. I mean, you have 4 turnovers in this game. I mean, that's way too many turnovers, and you're simply not going to win a game with 5 turnovers, and while they have 0. So, for Detroit's future, I think this was probably their best chance of getting to the Super Bowl with both of their coordinators gone. I don't see how it could get any better unless they get another great hires here. But yeah, this was probably their best chance, and I think they'll still be fine. But I don't see how it gets any better, like unless they have better injury luck here.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of felt like this year was the peak of this team, a really good team that we've seen in a while. So, yeah, I mean, it raises that question, and it's very, very frustrating. I think is the right word to describe a season like this, going out when they did as the Detroit Lions, 15-2. But yeah, sucks for them. We'll see. We'll see what they rebuild. I don't know. Have they announced who's going to be replacing Johnson and their? Okay, yeah. So
Not
No,
yet.
no, no, not yet.
okay. Yeah, so I mean, we'll see what they do there. I mean, you still obviously got Campbell at the helm, so I'm sure they'll work something out. And like you said, talented roster, but we'll see what happens here with the Lions. But I want to move on to our last game here, and congratulations to Nick and the Philadelphia Eagles here for beating the LA Rams here. Man, I just wrote down one of my points here. Saquon is the definition of him here. 205 yards, 2 tutties, man. That running through the snow, he was smacking his helmet was just really sick. Like to see, I'm sure as an Eagles fan, even cooler. But just as a fan of the sport myself, that was cool to see. Did get a little dicey there at the end with the Rams driving for a comeback there, but I mean, Matt Stafford, I don't know what the hell he was doing there on that last 4th down. Just threw it completely out of reach. I think I don't know if it was to Puka or to somebody, but it looked like they were kind of begging for a hold or a PI. That ball didn't even look catchable, to be completely honest. So, yeah, man. I mean, just kind of choked there at the end for the Rams with potential to do something crazy, but Eagles are gonna clutch up. This is the game I probably paid the least attention to until that last drive this week. So, yeah, I mean, only thing I will say, and Nick, you can address this statistically wise, I'm not too impressed with Jalen Hurts' 128 yards, but I mean, kind of the same as Josh Allen. I mean, didn't really have to do a whole lot when you got Saquon Barkley putting up 200 yards and 2 tutties. So, but yeah, I'll pass this one. I'll pass this one over to Nick first to give your thoughts on it, and then Owen, you can wrap it up and bounce it back to me.
All right, yeah. So this game was, to me, as just an NFL fan, was fun and exciting. but as an Eagles fan, I was so nervous at the end. Like my nerves were like on high, like 10, bro. After Puka made that insane catch in the last possession, I was like near certain that they were gonna score and win the game. Um, if the Eagles lost this game, I think it would rank second to most upsetting losses for me, only behind the Super Bowl loss versus the Chiefs, because that would be so heartbreaking to lose like last second. But we stuck through. I mean, the weather definitely played a factor in this game, especially in the second half where it started to pour down snow. And then that's where we saw more of the turnovers and the fumbles that the Rams caused. Saquon Barkley is the heart of this Eagles offense. Him just simply being on the team causes so much stress on defenses just game planning for him. And they've tried to stop him, but they never can. I mean, I think the Eagles O-line and the way they scheme up their runs is just so brilliant with Jeff Stoutland scheming them up. He's been here for a long time, and Saquon Barkley is just a true difference maker of a running back. This week, yeah, the passing game was ineffective once again, but I genuinely thought it looked a lot better than last week. Hurts was only 15 for 20 for 65 total net passing yards, which is extremely pitiful. But his stats could have been a lot better. I mean, he had a deep shot to Devonta Smith that was dropped there. He had a potential deep throw touchdown to AJ Brown that was dropped. And he had a touchdown to Goddard that was called back by penalty. So a lot of misfortune there, but I think Hurts looked a lot better than last week, especially with the weather conditions. Again, the passing game could be a lot better. There's a lot to work on, and holding the ball is also a very big issue for Jalen Hurts here. I think he was sacked 8 times this week. I mean, he's just holding on too long, and he needs to get rid of it faster. I mean, he needs to become more decisive as a pocket passer, especially with the injury that he occurred this past last week in the third quarter, fourth quarter, and so I don't think his mobility is going to be there for this upcoming week. One thing I can't complain about Hurts though is that he is playing turnover-free football, and he's protecting the ball and giving the team the best chance to win. And in the playoffs, that's so important here. Though on a counterpart to that argument, I think he is trying to protect the ball too much to where he is becoming indecisive and holding onto the ball longer than most, which is causing that D-line, our opponent's D-line, to get to him faster. For defensively, we played great again. Vic Fangio is truly one of the best defensive coordinators in this league. The true difference maker was Jalen Carter. He had 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 pass deflections, 1 forced fumble, and 3 QB hits. Carter really saved the Eagles this season. I mean, his 3rd down sack on Stafford on the last possession was really the difference maker here. And then he followed that up with the 4th down quarterback pressure, which caused Matthew Stafford to actually sail that ball out of bounds to Puka there. And that ended the game. I know we touched up on that Nakobe Dean injury a couple of weeks ago, Sam. And who filled in for him was Oren Burks. I think he played fine. He played solid. I really believe the Eagles have the best remaining defense in the playoffs, especially with Vic Fangio. And we have just so much talent. I think it's just so well-rounded on the defense. And the way he schemes it up, it's really a masterclass. But that's all I had to say. I think the Eagles really gave me a heartache here as an Eagles fan, but we're moving on.
Yeah, Nick made a lot of great points, so I'll just kind of quickly touch on this game. As Sam knows from last week, this was my upset of the week. No offense, Nick. Congratulations. But yeah, a couple of concerns I had for the Eagles was, their pass attack, it was concerning for me. And another point I made was, I thought the Rams defense was getting hot at the right time. I thought their defensive line was starting to play their best football. And to be honest, they did that. There was multiple drives for the Rams, stopped the Eagles, stacked them out of field goal range. I thought Jared Verse, the whole thing with the Philly crowd, that was pretty funny. But he played a hell of a game. He's impressive as a rookie. But at the end of the day, man, like, Saquon Barkley is a fucking beast. He goes for over 200 yards against the same team twice. And he basically won the Eagles this game. Jalen Carter was obviously great. But yeah, the Eagles, like you said, Nick, best defense left in the playoffs. I completely agree with that. Stafford and the Rams, that's a hell of an offense. That's a hell of a challenge. And I think they held their own. And to get that stop, the last possession, after the Rams had the momentum there, that's a huge stop. Boost them to the NFC Championship game. And yeah, I'm super excited for the Eagles Commanders. That's going to be a fire game.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, Eagles got it done. I think that's the moral of it, and they've got the weapons here to make that happen. Yeah, I was gonna say, Owen, your cam froze there for a second, but I think you're good now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, Eagles are moving on to the to the conference championship here. So if you guys are all good with those games, I'm gonna move on here to these conference championships, and we'll give our thoughts on these two remaining games here coming up this weekend, and who we think is going to be coming out on top here. We'll jump back over to the AFC and hit the Chiefs versus the Bills. They're going to be the night game here, it looks like, at 6:30. This is a common postseason matchup we've seen in recent years, whether that be in the conference championship or earlier on. They run into each other a lot and usually have some classics between the two teams. And so, I would personally, I would love to see the Bills and Josh Allen finally make a Super Bowl here. And I do think they can. They are a good team, and we've showed that they're able to manage their team or manage their opponents and pull out wins when needed. But I just think, man, with the way that the Chiefs games have been going here, not to be a conspiracist, but to be a conspiracist, I don't see anything changing here with this game, to be completely honest. I mean, you've got Mahomes, lives for these type of things, has experience being successful in these situations, in these conference championships. And Josh Allen's still looking for that to kind of happen here. So I think the experience difference, the ref difference, and calls that are going to go towards the Chiefs, are just the way we've seen games going their way. I'm just not going to, my expectations, I'm going to set them at the floor here because, they can't be broken that way. And I'm going to personally pick the Chiefs here at the end of the day to win this one. But I don't know what you guys think.
Oh, yeah, this game is tough. It's just a complete toss-up. It's just hard. I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. For me, it's just hard. I mean, I've just seen it time after time after time after time after time again. It is what it is, man. They get the calls. They just find ways to win, and that's just kind of what they do, man. They have 15 wins this season. How many of those are one-score games? I bet it's over 60%.
Mm-hmm.
They have the better defense. Patrick Mahomes just finds a way in the playoffs. And then, yeah, I don't know. This game's going to be fun to watch for sure. I think
sure.
It's going to be a back-and-forth game. It's just hard for me to go against the Chiefs after, all the fucking bullshit that we see week after week. So I'm kind of going with the see it to believe it pick here. But I'm going with the Chiefs in a close game.
Yeah, in my heart, I'm rooting for the Bills to beat the Chiefs in this pseudo rivalry here, championship. I think the Bills can and are capable of beating them, but like Sam said, I doubt they beat the Chiefs here, especially the way that the Chiefs games have been going lately. In my opinion, I think the Bills need to play a super clean game and try to avoid penalties as much as possible, because anything ticky-tacky is probably going to go the Chiefs' way. As a Chiefs conspiracist, of course. And yeah, but Mahomes and Reed are just simply inevitable in the playoffs. No matter what, where, or why, they will find a way to win no matter what. Yeah, but I hope the Bills win, but I have the Chiefs advancing here to their third consecutive Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if it goes that way. Sorry, Keegan, I'm sure you'd be happy here but we're kind of ragging on your boys. But I mean, it's deserved. You guys have become the Patriots and the most commonly successful team that unfortunately happens to by usually. So
he knows it's deserved.
Yeah. So yeah, that is what it is. We've got the Chiefs here moving on to the Super Bowl if we're being realistic from the AFC side here. And then did want to jump over to the NFC here. This is very interesting here because the Eagles and the Commanders have played twice this year already. So we're getting a third match, rematch of the year here in the conference championship. That's something you don't always see in the NFL playoffs for both teams from the same division to make it this far all the time. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm impartial to this one. I'm not exactly sure who I think is going to come through because we've got two fully operating systems here in two different ways. And so Eagles have an amazing defense, and this Commanders offense has proved that they can put up numbers. So we have sample size, and they're one and one against each other so far this year, right, Nick? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this doesn't feel as crucial of a win for Washington as it does for the Eagles, because I mean the Commanders are very young, and they're going to be back here with Jaden Daniels. I mean we've been praising him for sure. So with him at the helm, they're probably going to be back, and they've probably already overachieved by making it this far in the first place this year. So expectations for them have already been exceeded. They're kind of playing with house money now, and so. It doesn't feel as important of a win for them. Obviously, you're in this situation, you want to win. But for the Eagles, on the other hand, this one feels crucial here to set up a potential rematch with the Chiefs or Bills. I mean, Bills could make it, but probably what we think is going to happen, a potential rematch with the Chiefs if they win this game. And yeah, I mean, they have a lot. They definitely want their get back on that last time they met in the Super Bowl. So I think there's a lot riding on this for this Eagles team. And I do probably think, Eagles at home here do take this one. Nick, did in those games, did the Eagles win the home and then the Commanders won at their home, or was it the other way around? Or how did...
Yeah, it was Eagles won at home. And
Eagles won at
Commanders
home? Okay. So, yeah, I mean, Eagles are obviously home here again. And so I'm going to personally say I'll pick the Eagles here to win this one. But, yeah, I'll let Nick go first here again and give his thoughts.
Yeah, so like you said, Commanders truly has something special going on. To make it this far to the NFC Championship is just way overachieved of what the expectations were this year. Like I said, Jaden Daniels, he's going to be a star in the league. He already is. He already plays like a veteran. They'll need to rely on him once again to beat this tough Eagles defense. But at the end of the day, I think their Cinderella story ends here at the NFC Championship. I mean, on paper, the Eagles are just so much more talented than their counterparts. Yeah, like you said, Sam, Eagles also have home field advantage once again, and it's very difficult to play in Philly. One thing to note, Hurts injured his knee a bit last week, but will play. If he can't be as mobile as usual, then that will definitely hurt our RPO game. And I really wouldn't risk running Hurts as often as we have lately, especially if we do advance into the Super Bowl. In my opinion, the Eagles need to play clean football and contain Jaden Daniels as much as possible. And on offense, we need to lean on Barkley once again and prove that they have to stop him, that they can stop him, and then pass when needed and execute our passes and no turnovers. I would be surprised and absolutely heartbroken if the Eagles lost to our divisional rival, Washington Commanders. But anything can happen in the NFL. I mean, literally last week, Lions lost and they were favored, I think, 9.5 points, 8.5 points. But I have the Eagles winning this game, and I have the Eagles advancing to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. So I picked against the Eagles last week, and I'm a big fan of Jaden Daniels' game this year. But I'm gonna go and agree with you guys. I do think the Eagles come out on top in this matchup and make it to the Super Bowl. I just like this matchup for the Eagles. I think Jaden Daniels is a great player, but the Eagles defense is just a different task than especially coming off of last week against the Lions. The Eagles front, their linebacker Zach Bond, he's had a Defensive Player of the Year type of year, and obviously the Eagles back end, one of the best in football as well. So they're definitely going to pose a big challenge for Jaden Daniels. And then as far as the Eagles offense, Saquon Barkley, I think he's going to rumble again in this game. The Commanders are not very good rush defense team. They've been susceptible to the run all year. And Saquon Barkley is the best back in football. Eagles have one of the best O-lines in football. I think Barkley's total for this game is 124 rushing yards, which is unheard of. I can see the Eagles kind of controlling the clock in this game, not turning the ball over, and I think they advance to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so we're all I guess we're all kind of in agreement here with what this Super Bowl is going to be looking like here in Eagles Chiefs rematch to run it back for Super Bowl. What is this? 50, I don't know, Roman numerals. 59?
Yeah.
Is this 59?
I want to say it's 59.
Okay. Yeah, so running it back here for Super Bowl 59 is what we think is going to happen. We'll see what happens there. That would still be, relatively entertaining. Hopefully it's like a fair classic game, like we kind of saw, in previous Super Bowls where we do have just a great matchup. So would love to see that for sure, but between those two teams if they do make it here. It's crazy. Like the world is probably going to be rooting on the Philadelphia Eagles to take down the Chiefs if it does go that way. We'll see what happens. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to touch on here for this episode. Had a lot of stuff that we talked about for the playoffs, and we're kind of getting down to the nitty gritty here. And then obviously, man. Related to college football, we've concluded the season there. I'm feeling on top of the world with an Ohio State win, as we discussed earlier. That's it for college football on the year relating to happen there. And so we'll see what happens with college football. I'll still kind of cover, and we can discuss like any transfer news, coaching changes, all that stuff that kind of happens in the off season of college football if something comes up worth mentioning. But we're going to be kind of putting that on hold here as we focus more so on the NFL Conference Championships and the Super Bowl coming up. And then Call of Duty wise, I'm excited for this last week of online play. I haven't recorded that segment yet, but it will be before this. I would have already talked about it at this point here. So excited for the last week of online play here before Major 1 in-person tournament. That will be exciting. Next week we'll be looking to cover that, and then cover, like I said, the NFL and where we're standing there in that sense. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing these games shake out. And follow like I always say, follow the podcast on Spotify if you prefer to listen. Then watch on YouTube. We appreciate it. Yep, like Nick is saying, it will be linked in the description below. There, you can look up Killstreaks and Kickoffs Podcast, but it will be linked alongside all other socials there. Thank you, Nick and Owen here for hopping on. Once again, I thought this was a pretty good episode. We kind of around the hour mark like last time, so I'm fine with that. And thought we hit a lot of good points here and offered some interesting insight. Anything else you guys want to say?
No. Thanks for having us on. Like you said, like the video. And now it was a good time.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Take care, and we will be back next week in some form or another to highlight all the news that has happened since then. Take care, everybody. Peace out. Like I'm stuck, it's time giving it up. She wanna get married tonight, but I can't take a knee, so I'm wearing all white.